Oh, that's an example.
Yeah, you can-
Yeah. Oh, I just.
When it doesn't work.
How do I?
You make me feel special.
Problem and solution. I'm trying to figure out how to get it.
So I think. Commissioners. Council, I think, county commission.
No, it's first.
So you should have.
To go back.
Well, I don't.
Right.
But I know there's. But I know. Trending that direction. I could check online.
Yeah, he is.
It's well, that's what. It's all the little. You know, it's all very dumb, but it's also a friend of mine. I know a lot of the sisters. You know, it's, yeah, you have a lot of things you have to. And so, little neighbor.
Hide, hide.
Still, sister. God bless her.
Busy.
Great, but. Yeah, the little girl next door is when they're turning.
I bet.
Cause they close on the elf all that stuff. Like,
You went away. Oh,
so today the elf is sticks with that.
Oh. This is all good. You fixed it, right?
His name is in my face in that area. She's like all about that girl next door. It's like, right, and that may not be. I'm like, Emily, you were nice.
Huh? She had to fix her.
It was serious business.
My grandson knows too, because he just talks about. He sat on Santa's lap and he's gonna go back and he's gonna tell those elves that I need a paw controller this year. And I mean, just, you know, on and on and on. Imagination just never stops. Oh, absolutely.
Kids are always. Hey, Christine, how's it going?
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Yes, no, I'm excited. I'm really excited for him this year, just because I excited to see Christmas through his eyes. And then, and he is like, like it brings back so many.
Frustration. Now you're here.
Love the tear, you know, and like, I was.
Well, we better
Anything. Until I had a grandchild.
Actually, yeah, have a
My dad. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because my kids.
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to jail. They're like, here you go. They're like,
No, that was right.
stop.
We also have.
Well, that's advice I need to take.
Last night with my last meeting, 3 times.
I gotta get back.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
We're going to go ahead and get started. If you haven't had a chance, get settled real quick. These of you are. There are donuts and cream over here on the counter. So please help yourself to that. Don't be shy. And we're going to go ahead and we will get started. So roll call, you want to just.
Yeah, well, we can go ahead. Let's go ahead and start with maybe some introductions and then from there I can do a roll call.
Let's start.
Sarah Troutman, CIRTA.
Hi, Philip Roth. Welcome to America's Structure Points offices. Just adding a couple logistical details, soft drinks and water in the fridge here if you want them. Restrooms right over there, 10 yards away.
Thanks for having us.
Brandy Smith, CSW Accounting, CIRTA's finance team.
Karen Brooks, Director of Way to Go Transportation at Socoa Aging and In-Home Solutions.
Amanda Meyer, Assistant Director, CIRTA.
Good morning, Patrick Tam with Tam Capital Group.
Good morning, Don Adams, Morgan County.
Ron Deere, John County.
Terry Bridges, Madison County.
Jennifer Gebhardt, Director for CIRTA.
Ken Poindexter, legal counsel for CIRTA.
Mike Gorowski, Boone County.
Weidler with Hancock County.
Eileen Swackhammer, Director from Delaware Muncie Metropolitan Plan Commission.
Hi, good morning. Andrew Kleinman from the city of Indianapolis, and my favorite Christmas carol is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Of course.
Tack that on.
Santa Claus is blood pressure at this point. What are you talking?
We used to do that back in the day, Gary.
Yeah,
Question?
we did. Humbug. Destiny. Destiny Wells, Marion County.
Ryan Wilhite, Indigo.
Hamilton, Hamilton County.
Online. Online, we have, looks like Jen Thomas and Jamie Johnson with Kelly and Associates.
Okay. Real quick, I'm gonna do something that we.
Oh.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, we're gonna start with you. We're gonna put the heat on you. Thing you're most thankful for this past year and the thing that you're most looking forward to 2020.
Most thankful for just the health of my family. And I'm looking forward to vacation next year. Next.
Spot. Thankful for generally good health and all my family, and next year, I'm really looking forward to my summer vacation on the beach next year.
I'm most thankful for just like everyone, good health, family, and forward to warmer weather next year. So.
I'm most thankful for my 3-year-old grandson, who has brought a huge shining light to our family, and excited because he shared with me that he's going to be a big brother next May. So I have a second one on the way.
We're gonna have some similar answers today. Definitely thankful for my family and absolutely looking forward to vacations and warmer weather as well.
I'm thankful most for a lot of things, but mostly my family and friends and a lot of the great things that they're up to. At the same time, selfishly for next year, we're to being much, much closer to being able to, as my son completes his pilot program. It's all about me.
I am as well pleased with family and health. And the older you get, the more thankful you are for all those things. Next year, just continuing the good ride that I'm on. Didn't have anybody run against me, so I've got 4 years and enjoyed the people I work with. That's a hoot. It's very important.
Well, I got several things to be thankful for. One, last night I had my last meeting after serving 28 years in elected office. I also moved on Thanksgiving Eve to a new cottage, went from 2,800 to 1,000 square feet. And took 6 months to downsize, if you ever have to do it. And of course, I'm looking forward to, most of you know that I've been on dialysis for 18 months. Doing great and, looking forward to continuing to feel well. And as I told the council last night, I'll be back.
Two things I'm most thankful for. Family and friends. And also was able to continue some things overseas that resulted in some good things. Wasn't for sure that was going to happen this past year. So for next year, I'm really looking forward to a family vacation. We've done these multiple years. There'll be about 30 of us going to the Caribbean, which is really cool. And we all get along well. It's a fairly large family, so that's great. Last thing though is I hope somehow or another we can learn to put animosities aside as a country and understand that what makes us strong is unity and how we resolve our differences and not being conflictual all the time.
And you need to be thankful for someday retiring.
Yes.
Getting
Getting closer.
I have a lot to be thankful for. I think right now in my life, most importantly, I'm thankful that I have health and a good job and a good board that supports me. And next year, I'm really looking forward to early next year in January. I'm not going anywhere warm, but I'm going to visit a brand new piece of land that my husband and I purchased in Alaska in the middle of January. There'll be no property on it, but I will be excited to walk on it.
So I have a lot to be thankful for, but since you asked what I'm most thankful for this year, it is that my daughter is finally off the payroll. Dr. Sydney Poindexter is practicing medicine, getting a small stipend as a medical resident, but nonetheless, it allows her to pay bills. And so full achievement. And next year, I'm looking forward to traveling with friends and family.
Yeah, it is a common theme, because you never want to take it for granted, the health of your family and friends and, those relationships that you can maintain, throughout some of those disagreements. And, next year, actually, our family's, well, I have two cousins getting married and I get to go to Nebraska City, Nebraska for a 4-day wedding. So that'll be, interesting. So.
Well, I'm certainly thankful for, I have 3 girls and grew up with all brothers, so that was a culture shock for me at first, but I'm happy to say that I love this particular past year. My 2 oldest are teenagers and I love it. They are so much fun and I'm just really enjoying the time with them and looking forward to next year. My oldest will be a senior next year, so kind of all the new stuff and chaos that comes with that. And farther in the future, hopefully one day, her paying her own bills.
I would say I'm thankful that my daughter is doing wonderful in college. An entire state away from me, so that's very comforting. And I would say I'm looking forward to just continuing to work with and getting to meet some wonderful supportive next year.
So I grew up with 3 sisters and I have 3 boys. So kind of see a little differently, even they're just a tick older than what you're describing. So I'm grateful for my family and their health. And the thing I'm looking forward to doesn't occur in 2025, but as a graduate of Indiana University and as a graduate of the University of Notre Dame Law School, my teams are playing on the 20th in the Andy Kleinman Bowl. So, I could not be more excited for that and looking forward to it. It's going to be so much fun up in South Bend. So if anybody has like a couple $1,000s that they want to loan me, I'm available for that. You know, it is a spirit of charity at this point.
Yes. Destiny Walden, I am most thankful for my family's health. I gave my dad a ring this morning and it was his 2nd day of retirement and he was in the parking lot of the gym. So very thankful for that. And then looking forward to the continued expansion of that family. My brother is in Paris right now. Popping the question, somebody retorted that it was cliche, one of my bitter now single girlfriends. But I had to remind her for perspective, and that's something I'm trying to keep right now. And that is that they are there because her parents cannot give her away because her parents are in Tehran and her mom is dying and she can't her because of how unsecure it is there right now. So to perspective.
Well, I'm thankful for all the travel I got to do this year for work and personal. And next year, I'm looking forward to not traveling.
Well, kind of along Destiny's line, as you look around, I'm just thankful for the resources that I have, that I don't have to worry about a bed to sleep in or an apartment or a house and friends to support. sometimes we have to look back. I'm looking forward to my first social security check. January.
Wow.
Thank you all for sharing. One last thing, I should have said, my daughter's getting married at the end of January, to a great guy, so, she lives and works in DC and so does he, so, I do get to the nation's capital truck, I get to see them either on this or otherwise, so. And Andrew, I wish I had $1,000 too, because I'm an grad and.
Well, maybe we could, we'll pass the hat.
It's pretty steep. Okay. We'll go ahead and first item is after introductions is consent agenda. That's resolution 2024-12-10-01. Does anybody have any questions, or if not, we'll take a motion for approval of second.
Consent agenda.
Have a motion by Ron. Do we have a second? Have a second by Don. Any discussion? Jennifer, roll call vote, please.
We have to roll call vote
Uh,
if we don't have virtual.
okay, all right. Motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. New business. First item is resolution 2024-12-10-02, resolution to approve the 2025 CIRTA budget. Jen and Brandy.
And put it on the screen. We also have blown up copies on the table. If anybody would like one, we can pass them along around as well. This budget was presented to you guys back in at the October meeting. Since then, we've made a few very minor changes to it. I'm going to go over those right now after we get it up on the screen. I'm going to pause for a moment. Sorry, guys. There we go. All right, so on the revenue side of things for the budget, our partner contributions were increased by 30% from the 2024 budget, increasing them from 120K to 156K. Our contract revenue and reimbursement for services are actuals now. Back in October, they were estimates. We had estimated the contract revenue at 80K, 40K for each connector. We had estimated the reimbursement for services at 800K, 400K for each connector. Both actual costs came in under our estimates. So the contract revenue is almost 70K and reimbursement for services is almost 700K. For expenses, salaries were increased for employees by 3% for a COLA increase. Our group insurance back in October was based on estimates because we didn't get the quotes yet from our insurance company. They actually came in under the estimated thought that what we originally thought, which was good. So these are now actuals based on current employee coverage. Since open enrollment has now ended, we do open enrollment at CIRTA in December. So we were able to have realistic cost for the 2025 budgets. The commuter services are actuals now, as I mentioned. They previously, we had them at 800K and they're now almost 700K. Please note, there's no grants to help offset those expenses. All of those expenses will be paid for by the EIDs in Plainfield and Whitestown. Advertising in the budget has increased back from 100K to 300K. These are traditionally, we had an advertising budget of 300K. It's funded 100% through CMAQ funding. So we just brought that back into the budget for 2025 since we have the money that has been awarded to us. And those are the biggest changes or updates regarding the budget. Are there any questions for me or for Brandy?
I will note that the Finance Executive Committee reviewed this and we did, agenda to bring it to the board. We were happy with it. So. Any questions of Jen? If not, we do need a motion for approval. A motion to approve.
So moved.
Christine, we have a second?
Second.
Mike?
Aye.
Mike, okay. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item up is resolution 2024-12-10-03. Resolution to amend the 2024 media contract with the firm.
Yeah, so as I just mentioned to you guys, the 2024 budget had a $100,000 budget. We budgeted that way for a couple of reasons. Primarily, it was to be conservative, transitioning our CMAQ funds to the federal exchange program with the IMPO. And with that being said, we got to the month of September and realized we had some additional funding that we needed to go ahead and get spent down so we could get the additional funding that we needed from the IMPO. So it made sense being short-staffed and from a perspective of with all the different construction projects and things like that going on, that we would look into doing a campaign for a media buy. So this is a contract basically to modify and amend our contract with a firm from $100,000 to $138,000. The original contract was not to exceed $100,000, but it was written into the contract so that the budget can be modified at CIRTA with any time with approval.
Anybody have any questions of Jen on this?
The vendor?
It's a firm. It's a company out of Pewaukee, Wisconsin.
There we go.
Yes.
Any other questions? If not, motion to approve. A motion?
I'll move.
Ron, do we have a second?
Second.
Say.
Destiny. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item up is C, resolution 2024-12-10-04 to approve extension of contract with legal counsel. Jen?
So our contract with Anne is up for renewal, and I would like to recommend that we extend our contract with legal counsel. It's the same terms and agreements. It's $20,000 a year in equal installments. It averages out to be about 10 hours per month for her to review contracts, provide staff support, things to that extent.
Does anybody have any questions of Jen on this? If not, I'll take a motion for approval.
Move approval.
That was Andrew. Thank you. Second?
Second.
Second. You made the second. Ann, thank you very much. Any discussion? Like to also say real quick before we vote, Ann, thank you so much. I appreciated your interactions with this. You're always responsive, and your guidance is greatly appreciated.
You're most welcome.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item up is D, resolution 2024-12-10-05, resolution to approve the immediate contract with the firm. We've already, okay.
No, it's different.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so a firm's contract is also, it's the last renewable extension we have available for the RFP we did with the firm. So this is a resolution to approve the last remaining 1-year renewal before we would have to go back out for RFP. It would be a contract with them to not exceed $300,000 of using CMAQ funding for the 2025 calendar year.
Does anybody have any questions of Jen?
So that's in addition to the previous addition to the firm's contract?
Yeah, so the other one was an amendment of this year's budget,
Okay.
and then this one is just to approve the budget for 2025.
Understood. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? If
For
not,
the full, is that the 300,000 in the budget? Okay.
Yes,
So
that
this
is.
is that.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
any other questions? If not, any motion for approval? Motion?
Christine.
Christine, do we have a second?
Second, Mike.
Mike? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. The next item up is E, Resolution 2024-12-10-06, resolution to approve contract for legislative services. Jen?
Yeah, so our contract with TAM Capital Group is up for renewal. This is a resolution to renew their agreement for 2025. It's not to, it's for $42,000 paid in equal installments.
Any questions of Jen on this? If not, I need a motion for approval. Do you have a motion?
I'll stand over.
Ron, we have a second?
Second.
Destiny?
Yes.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item up is F, Resolution 2024-12-10-07, resolution to approve update to the service policies and procedures manual. Jen?
Yeah, so like this time of year, for a couple of things, like we always like to look at our policies and procedures and compare them to any changes with FTA or things to that extent. We've also been notified that we are going to be going through our next triennial review. So we took some time this month to like really sit down and look over our policies and procedures and like making sure we had all of our ducks and kind of just did an internal audit. So out of that, we needed to make a few minor changes to our policies and procedures. We included the pages in the board packet, but they're very minor things. Just for example, I'm going to read through them just for transparency. On page 9, we updated the wording about, we had it in our policies and procedures that new hire training would like also be for board members. So we just changed that it would be new hire training for CIRTA staff, not CIRTA board members, with the exception of the internal controls training that you guys all have to go through to be in compliance with State Board of Accounts. On page 19 in section 4, there for a cost allocation plan and de minimis rate, we updated the surcharge from 10% to 15% for the FTA guidelines because it changed. On page 19 and section D for financial records and approval process. In the second paragraph, we clarified who handles timesheets, which is primarily myself. So I will approve all timesheets unless I'm on vacation, then Amanda will approve vacation timesheets. Amanda or another program manager would approve mine if Amanda's not available and vice versa. And then on page 20, we just had a minor tweak because it talked about the wording about signatures on checks, and we don't use paper checks anymore. We use bill.com. So we just modified that to be reflective to how our processes work internally. And then lastly, there was something in there on page 20 that said we provide Indigo and County Connect partners ridership reports for workforce connectors. And I just modified that to say that ridership reports are available upon request to interested parties when requested.
Does anybody have any questions of Jen? If not, I need a motion for approval. Mike, we have a second?
Second.
Who was the second? Rob, thank you very much. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item up is item G, Resolution 2024-12-10-08. Resolution on recommendation by the Executive Committee to request full board ratification requesting one-time 5,000 stipend for 3 employees. I'll go ahead and discuss this. This was brought up at the Executive Finance Committee meeting. As you know, probably for the last 6 months to 8 months, staff has actually been short. And so there's at least 3 folks, Jen, Amanda, and Sarah have picked up a lot of extra responsibilities, had to work a lot of overtime. I know because Jen sends stuff to me Saturday morning, Sunday nights. I get to it a lot of times, but a lot of that happens. Our staff does. So we decided that we thought that maybe they should get a one-time stipend in regards to all the extra time that they put in. And that was the recommendation of the Finance Executive Committee. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them, or Jen can answer if you have any questions of her as well.
I'm just curious, who's exempt? Staff.
Did you hear that, Jen? Who's exempt on staff in terms of salaries and wages?
Technically, everybody in management who's not an outreach rep, it's now based on salary caps. So, yeah.
So is this for the exempt?
Technically, 2 of the 3 are exempt. Yeah.
Any other questions you may have? If not, I do need a motion for approval. Motion?
Motion.
Bob, do we have a second?
Second.
Is that Andrew? Thank you very much. A motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Is that all the 2024?
Yes.
Yes. Next item up is H, Resolution 2024-12-10-09, resolution for the ratification of payment to Wells Fargo for last copier installment. Jen?
Yeah, so you guys earlier this year approved a new contract for us to change vendors for our copier, and for whatever reason, it's been very difficult to communicate with Wells Fargo. And based on that, we wanted to make sure that they received, and we had documentation showing that our last payment for them was received in time. It was not received to after the November Executive Committee meeting, but it was due December 1st. So in our policies and procedures, it says that I can approve it and we can rectify it at the next board meeting. So this is a resolution to ratify, the payment for Wells Fargo. It was a payment. I just realized I didn't write it down. It was a little, like $1,000 and some change.
$1,100.
About $1,100 going to Wells Fargo for the final payment to them. So they have received it. We have that verification. Now we're just waiting for communication. Pick up the unit.
Does anybody have any questions of Jen on this item? If not, I need a motion for approval and second. Motion?
So moved.
Mike, do we have a second? Rob? Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is Karen Brooks from Sequoia. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you.
For coming today.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for having me. I wanted to come and talk to you guys about the My Freedom program and talk about the changes and what has taken place over the year. Not sure who all is familiar with Sequoia. Sequoia is the largest council on aging here in the state of Indiana. We help provide services for central Indiana, including Marion County and the 7 surrounding counties. The My Freedom program is a program of collaboration between CIRTA, Sequoia, and the FTA funding. Yep, you can keep going. Next one. So let's talk a little bit about the My Freedom program. What is it? Oh, back one. The My Freedom program is a program that is used mainly for cross-county transportation. It's for seniors who are age 60 or older, or for anybody of any age with a disability. This program, again, can be used for any purpose. It is the only program in central Indiana, you guys, that where a client can have a provider that provides the whole transport versus a client having to get out of, let's say an example. We have a Hamilton County client who is a veteran. They need to get to the VA hospital to receive their medical services. There is no other provider in central Indiana right now who will complete that whole entire transport. This program is the program in central Indiana that is meeting that gap. Okay. So that Hamilton County client, that veteran can get down to the VA hospital, receive their services, and then get transport back from Marion County back into Hamilton County using one provider. Without this program, the only other way to make cross-county transports happen is for one provider to meet up with another provider at the county line, and the client has to switch vehicles. Guys, that's not the best thing for clients out there, especially clients that utilize a wheelchair, and things. And at the same time, you might have clients that have a cognitive disease that, need some assistance. So we want to try to make this as simple as possible for them, which is what this program is allowing to do. Next slide, please. For this program, clients who are age 60 years or older, there is an application that has to be completed, but they will not be denied. For clients who are 59 years and younger, they have to have a medical verification form filled out by a doctor stating that that client has some sort of a disability. For those of you guys that are familiar with the Indigo Access program that operates within Marion County, this is kind of like a sister program to that. For clients who use Indigo Access, they have to have a medical verification form completed by a doctor that states that that client has some sort of disability, which then deems that a vehicle can come to their house to pick them up. Okay. It is the same thing with the My Freedom program. If they're 59 or under, we have to have that medical verification form. It doesn't matter what disability it is. It could be physical, it could be cognitive, it could be whatever. The doctor just says that there's a disability, meaning that that client is safest if we send a vehicle to their home versus them trying to make it to a rapid bus transit center to use bus transportation. The next slide, please, is just going to be a copy of the medical verification form that is completed by the doctor. Next, please. And this is how the Fair Card system works. So a client signs up for the My Freedom program. Once they complete the application and we have the medical verification form completed by the doctor and back, then we send out a welcome letter to the client, letting them know that they're now a part of the program. There's an electronic fare card that goes out with that. The client ultimately pays SECOA to put the fares onto the card, but then they use that fare card when they're traveling. So Z-Trip is the local provider right now. When a Z-Trip cab driver goes out to pick up a client, they scan that client's fare card and the cost of the trip comes off of that fare card electronically. This helps clients not have to have a paper form, and it helps them ensure that they're not having to hand cash to people when they don't want to. Instead, they can just use that a little electronic fare card for their transports. Okay, next slide, please. This is a copy of what the fare card looks like. It's an electronic fare card with a QR code that is specific to the client. If the client uses this card, we can reprint out another card that is exactly like this, and the computer system is smart enough to know if they had $40 on their card before as a balance. When it prints out that new one, it'll have that $40 balance as well. Next slide, please. As far as clients adding money to their fare card, they call SECOA, they press option 3, they talk to our billing specialist, and they add the fares within about 30 seconds electronically to that fare card. As we run the client's credit card, send them a copy of the transaction, we add the fares to the credit or to that fare card. The client then uses that to transport. Next slide. The cost of a trip. So a round trip, you guys, is a one-way trip each way. This is a mileage-based program. Depending on if the client is picked up in Marion County, it is a $5 pickup fee, $2 per mile. If the client is picked up in Hamilton County, as an example, because you're pulling that cab driver out of Marion County, there is a bit of a minimum trip charge to get that driver to go into Hamilton County. So the minimum trip charge, and I'll just use Hamilton County as an example, the veteran in Hamilton County who is leaving Hamilton County that's going to be traveling down to the VA hospital is going to have a $40 minimum trip charge plus a $5 pickup fee, $2 per mile. When the client travels from Marion County back to Hamilton County, there is no minimum trip charge because the trip is starting in Marion County. So it's just a $5 pickup fee, $2 per mile. As an example, let's say that Hamilton County client, the round trip cost was $80. With this program, the funding from 5307, the funding from the PMTF, from CIRTA, and SSBG funding from SACOA covers 75% of that total cost of the trip. So if the total cost of the trip was $80, the client is only ultimately responsible for 20% or 25% of the cost, which means that client would only pay $20 for that transport. You guys, that is phenomenal when you take a look at what the cost is for cross-county transportation. Okay.
I have a question about that.
Okay.
So the example you just used, that person would have to have deposited money into the system?
They put their money on the fare card up front. Okay. You have some clients who want to pay a per trip, and Z-Trip or SACOA, we can help figure out what that cost is by determining the mileage. But the client ultimately only pays 25% of the total cost of the trip.
Okay, so how do they know, considering they may be on low income, how do they know what it's going to cost for that round trip?
When they call either SACOA or they call Z-Trip, they're going to give us the their pickup address and their destination, and we'll be able to figure out that cost before they put money onto their fare card. So as an example, if that round trip cost was going to be $80, as an example, the client knows that they would only have to pay $20. They technically only have to put $20 on that fare card. We have clients that use this on a regular reoccurring basis, and we have some, as an example, a Hamilton County client that I would like to share is so exciting for me to share, is a young gentleman in his early 20s who utilizes a wheelchair that is coming from Hamilton County all the way down to IUPUI to get his education. Do you know how exciting that is? We have never been able to do that here in Central Indiana. And I have been in this position in 13 years. It is so exciting for me to say that we're making a difference there. Next slide, please. Okay, I've already kind of done the example of the cost per trip. I beat ahead of myself. Our provider for the program is Z-Trip. We're currently trying to see if we can find additional providers who would want to be a cross-county provider. You guys, that's hard. People don't want to do those cross-county transports because you're taking one vehicle out and you're taking away the opportunity for them to provide other trips while they're waiting for this client outside, in one of the neighboring counties.
Is that formerly Yellow Cab?
That's formerly known as Indianapolis Yellow Cab.
And do the cab drivers, typically they work with tips. But what's going on?
Clients don't have to give them a tip. When we set up this program, we ensured that I met directly with Z-Trip to ensure that we were going to have drivers who would be willing to do those transports. And the only way to be willing to do those transports is to get paid for their time. That's why we had to put those minimum trip charges in. The minimum trip charge is usually, for the most part, $40. So it's $10 extra for the client. The other $30 is. But if you want to get somebody into Hamilton County these days to pick up that client, you got to pay them for the time that it takes to get there. Unfortunately, the way the world is these days, you don't have people that just want to do it out of the kindness of their hearts. Fortunately. Next slide, please. QRide is the scheduling software system that we used. It's HBSS, so HB Software Solutions. They're based out of Massachusetts. They are now up in Canada, and they have moved nationwide here in the States. Next slide, please. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the statistics of what has taken place over the last year. The first trip was done December 1st of 2023, and through November of 2024, we have there's 230 clients who have applied and been approved for the program. There's been 1,018 trips and 100 clients who have utilized the program to transport. Next slide, please. So here you will see the number of applications that have been received and the number the month in which they have been received. So you kind of see it go up and down and all around, but we're still currently receiving applications for the program. Next Slide, please. Here are the apps that we've received by the counties. So the different counties, here are the apps that we have received that have come in from them. Next slide, please. Here's our trip origins. So this means this is where the trips started. All of the trips that have been taken, this is the percentage of where they have started at. Next slide. Here's the trip destinations. Here's where the trips they started at on the last slide, and this is where they have ended up as far as the different counties are concerned. Next slide, please. Here's program utilization. So this tells you what this program has been used for. And remember, this program can be used for any reason. So we've had some workforce development out of this program, which is became wonderful for a couple of different clients who now have a full-time work job that they did not have before. 33%, the highest percent, is still being used for medical. You got 3% for church, 8% grocery, 8% work. You got 3% internship, 6% dialysis. You guys, we're providing transportation right now for clients who are in Boone County, who are going to Hendricks County for dialyzing. The same thing for Johnson County and Marion County. You guys, if you're not familiar with the dialysis situations taking place out there right now, lots of times you cannot dialyze in the closest location in a proximity to your home. Instead, some of the closest places are in adjacent counties for you to be able to go and dialyze. And again, this is the only program in Central Indiana that's helping make that happen for these clients because we have a provider who's willing to do those cross-county transports.
That one, or on any of the medical, it isn't the same, or cab driver or whatever. They don't wait for them. They
Depends. So I have been very lucky working with Z-Trip, and we have been, for clients who need a regular reoccurring driver, we have been able to set that up where the same driver is doing those regular reoccurring trips. So like those dialysis clients, one of them that dialyzes in Whitestown that then travels to Lebanon, they dialyze on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. You guys, we're making that happen. We didn't have transportation before on the weekends, and we're making that happen for that person. And if you're not familiar with dialysis, if you don't do dialysis, you're not going to be here very long. It is a life-saving service, and this program is making a difference in that area.
So my question was that, you know, if it's an 8-hour dialysis, they don't hang.
They're not going to sit there for 8 hours, but they're going to know that that person is finished, and they're going to know the pickup time to return to pick up that client to take them back home. Yes. The last 2% is for college. That's again, that gentleman that is going from Hamilton County and down there getting a degree right now. Wouldn't it be fabulous if he came back and said, hey, I want to be a part of CIRTA's board. I want to believe in this mission that they're providing and make a difference here. Us allowing this service is making that happen. Next slide, please. Okay, stop with that. But you guys, I want you to know how proud I am to be able to stand up in front of you all and tell you again, the difference that this program is making. And you guys, we've just begun. We've utilized this funding from Indigo that used to be used for this program that was primarily within Marion County to where it stopped for a year, and Indigo said, we want you to use this funding in a different manner. It only makes sense to help bridge that cross-county gap because that's what we're lacking here. And it's not just in Central Indiana, you guys, it's across Indiana in general. So I just want to tell all of you guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing this program to take place. Yes.
For the VA clients, is this service provided for those seeking community care, so non-VA facilities?
They can use it for any reason they want to. So it can be VA, it doesn't have to be, that was just an example that I had used. But yeah, it can be used anywhere for any reason. They can visit, they can go see family, they can have socialization, they can go to work, they can go to church, they can go get a haircut, they can go to the IMAX theater, they can visit Cousin Sue in an adjacent county. All of it is what makes this program unique and was exciting to see a difference that we're making here in Central Indiana.
What are the hours of service?
Z-Trip is open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
That's what's amazing about it.
So yes, we have a client that gets off of work at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you better believe we're picking him up and transporting him back to Plainfield to go back home.
So,
Tell me another program that does that at 3 o'clock in the morning.
so the phone service is 24 hours.
Yes, yes.
With County Connect, Karen and I are constantly telling our partnering agencies across the different counties, like, don't forget, we can help fill those gaps. Like, we in no way want to replace what you're doing in your counties, but we can fill the gaps.
Absolutely.
So Karen, what you're doing sounds fantastic. I appreciate it. It seems like a really good program. I guess, and I have a lot of questions, so I apologize. I
That's
won't take too much time. I wasn't familiar until today. Why, I guess, because County Connect, right, you hit on it, that there's that bridge. And that's probably a bigger question, and I'm still new here, so I, again, apologize. Why is it that Socoa can do this, but County Connect cannot kind of make some of this?
There used to be, through the 5310 grant, you had what was called New Freedom funding, and it was specific to operate a program. And that funding went away, and that's when we opened it back up for the My Freedom program. So years ago, it used to be New Freedom. Now it's My Freedom. And I think that the bigger question that you're hitting on, I think you're absolutely correct, that County Connect, we're not quite there yet with figuring out those cross-county transports. I know that we're working on a connector with Hamilton County and Hancock and having those providers help each other doing those transports. But still, when you think about that, if you take a Hancock County provider out of Hancock County because they're transporting and they're up in Hamilton County, then they're out of that area to do those transports in Hancock County where they need to be done. Or vice versa. If you take a Hamilton County provider into Hancock County, then you're taking them out of that area to cover. Whereas this program is using the local cab company and they cover the whole state of Indiana. So I think that there is room to grow there. I mean, I see where you're talking, but we are far behind in central Indiana when it comes to transportation.
Yeah, it sounds like, and again, I'm sure some of this newness is showing that the County Connect program has some room to improve with, you stop at the line and you have to transfer. How do your prices for fares? So if somebody, you said there's a minimum trip charge. I could see where that would get expensive. How does that compare with, like, say, Uber, for instance?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't have Uber's costs and stuff, but when I talk about this program with clients on a regular basis, most of them are telling me this is cheaper than an Uber for me to transport or a Lyft. The other thing you have to think about, Uber and Lyft doesn't always have paratransit vehicles either. And you have clients out there that need paratransit transport, and that's where this program helps as well, because the cab company has paratransit vehicles available to do those transports as well.
Okay. Then I noticed too, when you're going through some of those numbers, again, just curiosity, it looked like you had 230 some that were like approved, but only 100 clients that were using the program.
Yep. So that just means they've completed an application. They may want to use it when the snow happens. There's certain things, they're all approved and they can use it at any time. But right now, over this last year, we've only had 100 of them who have utilized the program, but the other ones could call at any time and utilize it.
Can I add to that? So I answer the phones. So I'm, talking to the people that are calling CIRTA. And it's kind of a back pocket thing. So I would, for instance, just using Hamilton County, they're calling for Hamilton County Express. They're used to that. They may use that. But if they call Socoa, set up an application, register, do all those things, then if Hamilton County Express can't accommodate them, they have this for their, for it. Or maybe they're staying in county and they need to come down, so there's a lot of reasons why we give them multiple options.
Gotcha. No, it just seemed like there was, so I didn't know if it was a funding issue because it kind of leads to another question. So I guess, is there so you guys subsidize 75%, is there, a limit, I guess?
Right now, when we fixed all of this, when we set all of this up, because we were not sure, we had never done cross-county transport. The funding is set up for 300 transports per month. And then from there, once we reach that funding, then we'll figure out how to grow, how to grow from there. But we had to come up with something per se to see where we could stay within the funding that we receive from Indigo, to be able to operate it. So yes, there is a cap. But my hope is that Indigo is going to double or triple our money here coming real soon, and that cap's going to grow. Take that back, Ryan.
I'm taking notes right now.
Thank
Where's
you.
my pencil?
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It seems like a great program, so I'm just trying to make sure
Yeah, no, and I welcome any questions. So please don't anybody hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help answer questions any way I can or give further education. I just was afraid there would be people here that didn't know about the program, so I just wanted to give a quick brief synopsis of that.
How many presentations have you made to the audience, so to say? I certainly would be interested in having a presentation made to the Johnson County Commissioners.
I would be happy to travel wherever to give a presentation. As a matter of fact, I am going to be the head speaker in February in Boone County for ILAD, and it's all regarding the My Freedom Transportation Program. ILAD is independent living for adults with disabilities, and they are located in all of the counties, Marion County and the surrounding, and they want to get this information out as well. So we want people to understand that this is for seniors, but it's also for those with disabilities. And I'd be happy to come and give a presentation.
I guess my point is that, this program is based upon education and people knowing it's there.
Yes.
We have a CIRTA board that, we've all learned about it. However, I mean, I know, you could be spending 40 hours a week in education, but
yes,
where are your key points that you're trying to get into?
Well, I mean, we have it available on our website. We also share all the information at the County Connect meetings to work with our County Connect providers so that they're aware of these services and resources that are available out there. But of course, the more education we can get out, the better it's going to be. It's, mostly word of mouth. And
Well, I'm thinking of senior citizen centers.
oh, yeah. Well, see, SACOA is involved in many of the senior center organizations, and we actually provide some Title III funding out to local senior communities or senior service organizations to be able to provide transportation in their areas. And we try to keep them all updated of this a valuable resource that's available to them as well. But again, education is key.
And I can add, Ron, like our team as well, when we do community events, we're sharing it. We're sharing it with different community organizations we're meeting with. In addition to even when we sit down and meet with an employer, we're sharing it with HR representatives just so they know if they have employees that, are struggling with these issues with, family members and parents. So we're really trying to share the word as much as possible. And I think that's a really good transition to, if there's no other questions for Karen right now. Okay, no worries, go ahead.
Since they're statewide, can they provide trips to Delaware?
That's something that we have talked about.
Yeah.
So when we restarted it this year, previous to this year, it was only for Marion County and the 7 surrounding counties. And so when we relaunched this, we added the Madison area. And Jen and I were just talking about that yesterday, about going back and seeing if we can add Delaware, because Delaware, it would be appropriate for people in Madison to be able to go to Delaware and vice versa, back and forth. And I would love to see this program grow as far as we can take it. So I would love to see that happen. And again, Z-Trip as a provider covers the whole state of Indiana. So I don't foresee that being a problem for them to get to Delaware as well.
Part of the challenge is that we're using some of Indianapolis's Section 5307 money to fund this. So currently, at least one trip end has to be within the eligible area within that. So for Anderson to go to Delaware County, Madison to go to Delaware County, we'd need to find maybe some of Anderson's 5307 money to supplement that. But
So are you saying?
Delaware County to the rest of central Indiana, though, is possible.
Are you saying one of the trips has to be in Marion County?
No,
No.
one of the trip ends has to be in the 8 counties.
So you could go from Hamilton to Hendricks?
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, no. You can, with this program right now, the way we set this up, you can cross one county line.
Yeah.
What I would like to see in the future, if we can get there, is there a way to be able to cross multiple county lines? So could you have a client that lives in Johnson County that needed to get up into Hamilton County? Right now, the way the program is set up, that Johnson County client could get into Marion County, but they could not use the program to get to Hamilton County. So what I would like to see in the future is for us to take that into consideration too. Is there availability for multiple cross-county?
I guess what I'm
transports?
saying is that if it's the donut counties,
Mhm.
you can't go to a donut county, only one county line is all you can pass.
Correct.
So you could go like from.
Like Hamilton to Boone, Hamilton to
Yeah.
Marion, Hamilton to Hancock, but you're not going from Hamilton down to Johnson. You're not going from Hamilton to Boone to Hendricks, because then you're crossing multiple county
But you
lines.
can't go from Hamilton to Tipton.
Correct, correct.
It has to be one of. I
The
guess-
areas that are covered right
Like-
now, which is Marion County, the 7 surrounding counties, and Madison.
Still great considering where we were a year ago
Yes,
to restart it, and kudos to you and your staff, Karen.
Thank
for
you.
That and keeping us apprised, and Ryan and Rob, thanks to Indigo in regards to the funding that was available.
I mean, we're just administering the FTA $5,307, so happy to see the program doing well.
So, all right, thank you very much. Next item up.
Oh, actually, real quick, to add to what Karen said, we wanted to, as we're trying to expand this reach, we have a draft video that we're in the process of creating to kind of share a story about somebody who uses Sequoia and the impact of them. It's not a final version yet, but we didn't want to wait to show it to you to February. We wanted to show you the draft now. It needs a few minor edits, and Jen Thomas and her team have been assisting us with this production. So I'm going to ask Sarah really quick to show that before we proceed.
So you guys, here's a perfect example of a client that lives in Morgan County. Who needs help getting to church? Who needs help getting to the doctor? And who needs help getting groceries? This service is providing those resources for her. So I just want you guys to keep that in the back of your mind, because at the end of the day, it is making a difference in our community out there. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to come in and present and talk about the program.
Thank you,
Sharon, thank you for being here, Karen.
Thank you.
Good video. Thanks for sharing that.
Yep.
Next item up is certain updates, legislative updates. Patrick?
Yeah, after a nice uplifting, positive message, we're going to talk about the Indiana General Assembly. So welcome to the gift that keeps on giving. The session starts obviously on January 8th. It's a long session. Most of you are more than aware, general budget update. The general mentality of all legislators, even getting into the caucuses, which is kind of entertaining, is fight for what you have. If you get more, watch your back. Key topics for the session will be property taxes, income taxes, road funding. You also see a lot of attention to FSA, Medicaid issues, those types of matters as well. Road funding specifically, no surprise to many of you, but I do want to make sure you're more than aware that tolling is very much on the table, more so than ever. Had a long dinner with Chairman of the Transportation Committee, Jim Pressel, and Ed Soliday, the grandfather of Community Crossings program, last week in Lake County. They are very adamant about it. A lot of those decision makers on some transportation matters grow up, live, reside in areas that have tolling in northern Indiana. Then also you have some key decision makers in New Albany, Jeffersonville, Louisville area that are pretty familiar with a love-hate relationship with tolling on bridges. But they also see the benefits of those types of projects as well. So be prepared for those types of conversations. You may see that in central Indiana where you look at additional lanes on interstates that will be tolled. That may be a possibility. It's a conversation. Not here to tell you that they're going to do that this year, but something of this nature has definitely gained steam. Many of you may have paid attention to Governor-elect Braun's transition. He is utilizing more of a cabinet type secretary piece. You literally are limiting, trying to limit the number of agencies that are directly reporting to the governor. Of particular interest, you have former State Representative Eubler is going to be overseeing Department of Transportation, DMV, and a slew of others. The transition team freaked me out because when they announced Eubler, they also announced that he'd run Department of Transportation. Currently NDOT's Commissioner Smith thought he was fired by press release. That was not the case. As previously telegraphed, somebody in the comms department needs their head to be cut off. The reality is that as of late last week, Smith has been asked now, which is somewhat unique, and there's no media in the room, but that he needs to apply and will be interviewed by Governor Braun for that position. I could get more into detail about that. I would also tell you, particularly for our interests, Lisa Hirschman is going to be running effectively the Office of Management and Budget and all finance. Lisa was the third highest ranking member of the Department of Defense previously under the first Trump administration. Regardless of that, if you look at her record, she really cuts spending, finds a lot of efficiencies and so forth. And she's frankly, I think she's a great person to work with, as I've done over my career in life as well. But that will be a pretty big hand on the till in terms of the budget negotiations. She will very much so be involved in advocating for the governor's priorities and frankly be prepared for her to also make some significant changes. PTCI, which is their legislative agenda, couple key items from those conversations, which we're obviously a part of. There will be a bill carried by Representative Pressel that will allow transit corporations to operate across county lines. Currently, Tippecanoe County is the only one that can do that. Allen County is also interested in this as well as some other northern counties. Representative Pressel is from northern Indiana as well. So you're going to see that the draft legislation is already looking as the narrow population parameters. We're not allowed to do special legislation, so we just draft it via population parameters. That's the trick. Will be widened, which will allow more counties to potentially do that. Pressel's not exactly sold on this. He's been asked to carry it. He's the chairman of the Transportation Committee, so he's going to carry it, which also means he's going to control it. So we'll see where that goes through there. But be aware that there's multiple counties, which oftentimes means multiple legislators pushing for this potential interest as well. There's other issues in Allen County that are more pressing for the Allen County delegation in Northeast Indiana, but this could potentially be one of them. Allen County does face a significant shortfall with their public transportation, which they're trying to address as well. The PMTF funding, we're asking for more dollars. Currently, CIRTA receives about $83,000 a year. With an increase, our percentage, if you will, would increase as well. We're looking for 45 million to 68 million with an inflation argument. That will be tough. And we're going to continue to be told by leadership and NDOT no, due to tight budget pieces. But if you're not asking, you're not trying, and you're never going to receive anything. So we have to ask, we have to make the case. But in doing so, you make the case for our services. You also make the case for what we do. Budgets and so forth always change over time. But if you're not consistently asking and telling the positive story, for example, of what we do and how we impact lives in a positive way, when there are dollars available, or they sit there and say, you know, we could do something here. We also had a positive conversation with Philip about and trying to get some data out of FSA right now in terms of how people are utilized and what some options are for hospital appointments and so forth, particularly when they're covered through Medicaid and so forth. So those are some of the pieces there that we have. The PTCI, though, had an alternative funding idea, which scared the living bejesus out of me, which was allowed them to do a public referendum. Some of them throughout the state thought this would be a great idea. A lot of the lobbyists were like, look, Indigo did this. This is a major undertaking. You need to be prepared for what that actually entails. And I think that some of the leadership amongst the state realize that, and that right now is on the back shelf as well. PTCI also is looking at, they're having some challenges, and you may be able to talk about this with regards to the safety of their drivers, which to me is almost crazy, but it does happen sadly and tragically with an assaults, flat out assaults against public transportation pieces. There is an element of mental health here that I think all of us can appreciate, unfortunately, and understand. So trying to address that, that's really outside of a budget conversation, but how we may be able to address that in some legal ways with some state laws. EIDs, you're going to always hear conversations about EIDs, EEDs. We're going to throw more acronyms at it this year, I'm sure. But trying to protect those EIDs and the utilization of them. Also trying to clean up some EID language to allow a little bit smoother and more understandable process for our partners throughout particularly central Indiana as well. I would encourage those, most of you are aware, the legislative committee is this Friday, this afternoon. We also will be with Jennifer at a couple local meetings on that day as well, with a couple of different county commissioners and so forth. So I would encourage you to participate that if you're on that committee or however you would like to choose. The key items, though, are I still call him Senator Braun. Governor Braun is inheriting a written budget that his team didn't necessarily write. So they're quickly reprioritizing a lot of different items with regards to that budget. It is a long session. They will have time to really weigh in on that. But anticipate Lisa Hirschman to have as much voice on transportation funding as NDOT. Do not undersell or underappreciate, at least my projection, her overview, particularly on big bucket items. So K through 12 spending, FSA and all the details in that are some of those key buckets. She will be looking at those costs in particular. And I think that will be the case. Ubler, if you don't know him or are aware, good state legislator. He's worked for the coal industry, very well known to Governor Braun. He's from the Evansville area, the greater Evansville area, which is where Abby is today. And I'll be there this afternoon as well, conducting a couple different meetings, meeting some folks that we've talked about here today as well. So with that, I'd open up to any questions.
I've got a question on the Cole Road.
Yeah.
So for example, let's say Keystone Avenue, the express lane, that kind of a concept that it would be told to go to certain parts of central Indiana.
It needs to be for new roadway. So you can't necessarily suddenly toll an existing existing lane. It needs to be for new lanes as well. You can make arguments potentially that you totally redid a lane. I'll leave that up to some lawyers on that piece, but the real consideration is if they add lanes to existing interstates or a whole new roadway.
So it's multiple year down the road if it were to pass anyway.
Correct.
Okay. And then second thing is about I always forget what it's called, the lane miles versus the.
Center lane miles. Yeah. The roads that are driven the least get the most, and the roads that are driven the most get the least. That's about the easiest way to explain Indiana's road funding. There is a continued conversation that primarily is led by Central Indiana leadership with regards to inequities in road funding. You also now have more and more small communities talking about their MVH funds. I actually put this in email. I may have these emails where they literally state, I have MVH funds. I don't have any more roads to spend this on. What can I do with these dollars? So you have some smaller communities now that are literally in email or asking the entire state what they can or cannot do. That conversation's tough because it really exposes the rural versus suburban, urban. So even with Mayor Hogsett in Indianapolis, as well as other surrounding mayors and counties in Central Indiana, they're all aligned to do that. Hendricks County actually will surpass Marion County in, if you will, on a per capita basis, on a return on an ROI basis. So what they give, they'll actually get less. And they actually surpass Marion County this upcoming calendar year. Marion County will be second, and good old Hamilton County will be holding strong right there, nipping on everybody's heels. Then you get into Lake County, and then you start moving around the state a little bit. So legislators are aware of it, but the political will to address it is pretty tough.
Does anybody have any questions of Patrick?
I guess I got kind of a statement, because I'm, work with the county highway as well. And you talk about some of the communities out there talk about not being able to spend MVH funding. Are those smaller communities?
Very small.
Okay, because that would make a little bit more sense, right? It's all context important.
Yeah, they're small communities. When I got the first email, I which I'm on this listserv, I just started like, holy Toledo, I got counties that would line up for this.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and it's, as you said, that can be make all local agencies, it can leave everyone with a black eye. So it's kind of.
And these are amongst elected officials, this listserv. So, but when I first read it, and then there was a couple others, I just almost, my jaw hit the floor and
sure,
can't believe you're putting this in writing, but the joys of being on some new listservs for me is constantly entertaining.
And I know there's a lot of newly elected officials out too, so I'm sure that education piece is part of that as well, so.
It is, at the legislature, you'll still have key leaders that will still drive those conversations. I was in Fort Wayne and Lake County last week for legislative dinners, and there's a great new state rep, Isa, who's coming off the county council in Steuben County. And he was like, well, I'm not gonna know that much. And I was kind of chuckling and laughed with him and said, look, you're gonna understand more of this because you're multiple years, multiple terms on the county council, and being able to take that experience to the state house, you'll actually probably know more than some of your existing caucus members. And I said that with existing caucus members sitting right next to me. But you do have some folks that bring that experience, but at the same time, a lot of these decisions are controlled by a very few number of individuals. I expect though the couple key areas you'll see legislators take more leadership on. Realize with all this conversation, even on the cross county piece, whether it's an initiative for Tippecanoe County or Allen County or some northern counties, don't ever underestimate my personal best friend. I'm being sarcastic, Senator Freeman. He will lose his mind.
I was gonna ask you that, Pat, if that Marion County is just gonna be out of that discussion, period.
Yeah, Senator Freeman will lose his mind over anything related to Indigo, or potentially to Indigo. He yells at me, at least schedules 2 meetings a year to yell at me. It's very fun. But Aaron will bring that perspective. Personally, I was very excited to be at the Purple Line groundbreaking for Indigo, and as well as anticipated some lending of some contracts. I think you're out the bid right now on a great East Coast. I mean, frankly, I'll say it again. I'll say it anywhere. If you're going to do one bus rapid transit line in the entire state, it's the next one that we're getting ready to do directly from the airport. So it's a great east-west connector. It really connects a lot of employment opportunities in addition to the obvious airport activity as well. So I think Jennifer, though, Peters, just to speak very specifically about Indigo, has made a lot more friends at the State House with her demeanor and her approach. And also the story, the message, most importantly. So I think that's improving. And also solidifying folks' positions that may be counter to Senator Freeman. Senator Freeman would like to stick it to Indigo and start it in the House this year versus start it in the Senate. But we'll see if the speaker even entertains that. So, but Freeman's smart. He'll find ways to make me do a fire bill for a couple days or weeks. So he's a good legislator and from his perspective, but he's talented and he's smart and he'll drive us crazy. So that's the way it works with him.
Anybody else have any questions of Patrick? Patrick, I just want to say on behalf of the staff, thank you guys for all your efforts.
Yeah, Abby's down south right now and I'll see her later today, but and Rick always finds a little bit warmer weather nowadays in December. So, but thank you for the opportunity to really, as you said, this really makes differences in people's lives. And it's not just something mythical. This is a daily activity that you make a change, you make a positive change for people, and it's pretty impactful. So the opportunity to just play a small role in that, it's always meaningful to us as well.
Amanda?
Yes, so I'm getting excited for 2025 when it comes to the Workforce Connectors as we are preparing everything with Go Express to begin on January 2nd. Ridership in October in Whitestown got to 750, which is great as it usually averages around 500 to 600. And in Plainfield in October hit almost 1,500. So yeah, the numbers are looking good. In October, we had 111 calls to CIRTA. So we're averaging about 100 callers a month. And we were able we got 8 calls in October, 10 calls in November, specifically for cross-county trips. So getting those cross-county requests, and Sarah does a great job at, like she said, advising people to call. She gives them the information they need to try to get connected with all of our partners and things like My Freedom. We were able to refer people on 9 different occasions in October, 15 different occasions in November. And we have just been especially busy with getting things prepped for Go Express. They've been working on branding those vehicles and working on getting the bike racks moved over, all those things that need to happen for November 2nd. We do go next week to meet with Go Express, Jen and Philip and I, to just make sure everything's good to go in that transition plan, make everything smoothly as we transition over, and everything's good to go with our mobility management and PMTF funding. So all of that's moving along well too. We also met with TransPro recently. We went out to Whitestown. Jen and I rode along with them through the whole connector route, looking at what we can do to make some positive changes, possibly make some changes with the stops in order to increase ridership. But we're excited to see what their technology can do at Go Express that might help us with the ridership as well, have an even better understanding. Last thing I want to tell you about is the pilot. Things continue to move along well with that as well. So Q2 is when we're hoping to officially kick it off. It's possible that it could slow down to maybe Q3. But we're working on getting some MOUs in place between Hamilton and Hancock County. We meet this week, tomorrow, actually later today. We meet later today. Today's Tuesday. But Sarah and I have been getting some different training through not only our partners. So I went and spent some time at some different partners recently to be able to just sit down and look at that software. But as we sign the contract, we'll be able to get our hands on it and be able to use it ourselves. But looking forward to meeting with them today, discussing further, just continuing to move things along.
Anybody have questions of Amanda? Thank you, Amanda. Jen?
Yeah, so yeah, gosh, since our last meeting, that I think the most exciting news that I have is we have now fully trained and onboarded a new program manager for the Commuter Connect program, and 2 new outreach reps. So we are almost fully staffed. Our new program manager, Chris, he has a very strong background in sales with T-Mobile. In addition to that, he actually has dispatching management experience, which is kind of a unique combination. He actually worked with Amanda for several years and was a mentor to Amanda throughout her career. And we're excited to have him. Our 2 new outreach reps are fresh out of college, but really smart and eager individuals. Sam went to Butler, graduated with a 4.0, did some internships at the State House. In addition to that, she did some internships doing outreach for the Indiana 211 program. And then Eliza just graduated with her degree in organizational leadership. And she is super passionate about what we do as well and is bilingual. So it's been fun over the last month to spend time with both of them. I actually got to go back out into my roots, did a nice event at ITS out in Whitestown, and literally got behind the table and got to celebrate Thanksgiving with the warehouse, and went out there and registered over 10% of their employees and got to train them and show them how it's done. So I'm super excited to have them on the team. Additionally, as I mentioned before, we were hit kind of all at the same time that our triennial review kickoff meeting is going to be occurring before Christmas. So we spent a lot of time prepping for that and making sure we have all our ducks in a row as that kickoff meeting, and they're going to start requesting documentation here in December and doing an on-site visit sometime in the middle of next year. Since our last meeting, we have registered 231 new commuters despite being short-staffed and started a new van pool at SMC in Noblesville. We also, after the last executive committee meeting, one of the things, I'm not sure if everybody on the board is familiar with this, but we had a little bit of a hiccup this year in not being able to get our 5307 funding as quickly as we wanted due to an issue and not having STIP and TIP documentation as quickly as we needed it to. So it caused a lot of unnecessary, what's the word I want to say, panic, stress, a lot of the above. And it was kind of brought to my thought process of like, have we ever looked into a line of credit in a temporary place holder? So the executive committee has tasked me with doing a little bit of research. No decisions, of course, will be made. But I have started that research. I have reached out to the National Bank of Indianapolis and plan to reach out to a couple other banks to just get some I can present it to the executive team, and then the executive team can decide if they want to present something to you guys to move forward with that. Just as a gap filler in case we have anything like this happen again. Right now, we've been drawing on our general fund dollars till we get that grant back in the accounts. Thankfully, we've been working, Amanda and Philip, myself, we've been meeting with the FTA, our FTA reps every 2 weeks. Everything is in final concurrence right now. I anticipate we should have that grant and that money back by the end of the year. But with that being said, I will be doing that research on behalf of the to hopefully help in if that ever would happen again. In your packet, there are attached dates for board meetings for 2025. If you guys can just take a look at those and please let me know, like right now, you know, we do still have those a couple open positions on our board. So if you're getting more phone calls or emails from Sarah or I, that's why, you know, we're trying really hard to try to get those positions filled by the governor's office, as well as, you know, we have an appointment on Greg's previous appointments that we hoped that we can get filled in early next year. And then you can just email me if you have any conflicts and we can go from there on the date. I would really appreciate everyone taking that time. And then the only other thing I just wanted to say is that Anne, today is Anne's last board meeting, so she's leaving me. She is, would you like to say a few words on that?
Yeah, so my commissioners have made a new appointment. Well, is that okay to?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been notified by them
Okay.
yet, but that's okay. You can still say it.
Working
Yeah.
on getting
Yeah,
that letter. They approved it and everything. So Suzanne Darengowski will be appointed for the Hancock County representative, and she leads this Hancock County Senior Services. She'll bring a great perspective on that side of things, the more rural transit back to the table. So I think she's excited to get started with that, and I'm just grateful to have been here. I've learned a lot and hoping to carry forward a lot of what I've learned and bring that back to Hancock County. So thank you.
I appreciate everything you've done for us, Anne. Thank you. And lastly, I just want to say thanks for being here today, and I wish you all a happy holiday and a wonderful new year. And thank you.
I have one general question.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of it, but last
okay.
year, electronic system voting that the consultants presented to us for dispatching.
Despite something.
What's the last?
They're actually gonna tap in for that. You wanna talk about what's going on in terms of your use of dispatch software moving forward? That's how you went wrong.
Are you maybe referring to how they recommended to the EIDs to move the service to a demand response service using technology?
No, I was talking about like the different county doctors on the county access and the others.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, TripMaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a few different counties that are already using TripMaster. So that's what I was talking about. So I was actually just there with Suzanne, and working with one of her dispatchers, her head dispatcher there. So we've been like shadowing, getting on virtual calls with them showing us different things they do with the software. And pretty soon, like once all the agreements are in place, we at CIRTA will also have access to it. And so the hope is that we will be able to do the one call, one click. When CIRTA or Sarah receives a call, she'll be able to take a look at the availability in their systems right away and let someone know if it looks like we'll be able to do a trip. But initially, before we fulfill any trip, we'll call the partnering organizations and just say, hey, this is what we're looking at, and we'll get back to the rider and let them know if we can fulfill it.
That was been accepted by most of the, like Johnson County Access and the other organizations.
Yes, we only have a couple of,
Like 4 counties that you.
yeah, right, not all of us have it. But let's see, it's Hamilton, Hancock, Hendricks County.
Becky has it?
I'm not for sure.
I don't
if she
think so.
does.
Someone over there does.
I thought you guys told me she added it.
I'm pretty,
It
yeah,
may be her.
Access Johnson County
Maybe
does,
her.
yes, yes, so we do have a couple that do not have it. The hope is that hopefully eventually they will, but at least we'll be able to communicate with most systems.
If we get systems that can talk to each other or work from the same system, it will make a tremendous difference here.
Right.
Because I have said all along for 13 years, if I have a client that's up at Community North and my driver is at Eskenazi, it'd make more sense if I could get a hold of another provider that maybe has another person up at Community North and I take that
Yeah.
Eskenazi person. So I'm interested as learning about TripMaster as well. We've never had TripMaster at Sequoia. We have a different program, but interested in learning it to see if it's something that would be valuable.
That was the one, Ron, that they selected because 4 of the counties actually utilized it. And there's a possibility, hopefully in the future, that maybe more will, but at least for now, that's the one. Want to make sure that that transition was easier, Phil.
The Hamilton Hancock pilot program is trying to, its main objectives is to sort through a lot of the issues with multiple agencies, each other's trips.
Any other discussion for today? Real quick before we adjourn, thanks to all of you for your service here and for your service in your everyday work that you do, helping people, making life better wherever you're at. I think that's your biggest impact is where you're at. Sometimes we tend to overlook that. Also want to say thanks to all of you that have helped staff. Also want to thank staff and Phil for all your hard work this year, Brandy for your work as well. And wishing you the best of holidays and good health and enjoyment with your family and friends. So I do need a motion for adjournment. I have a motion.
Oh, ho, ho, let's adjourn.
Ron, we have a second. For a second,
Second.
Eileen.
That's
Jeff. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.